The LPL delivering as always. Base races, quadra kills, Kai'Sa, and tons of super awesome action here in the LPL. Tragically though, the team that did have all of that cool stuff going for them, RNG, did not win the game.
Well, there was plenty of cool stuff from IG. Like, whoa, calm down.
Yeah,
the good old-fashioned team coordination. Yeah.
Hey.
All right, you go ahead.
Okay. But we do have to talk about this, right? Because momentum is something that's very important coming into this series.
Yeah.
RNG were picking up speed. They were pushing to the Nexus. It was the final tick to midnight that would have ended the game for them, and the clock stopped.
Yeah, and I think they pressured themselves too much in that situation because if you have, here's the thing, if you have a composition.
We're talking about IG or RNG?
RNG.
Yeah. Both those teams pressured
There's a lot of
way
pressure,
too much.
but it's legitimate pressure for Invictus Gaming because compositionally they are so far behind. At that point in the game, they don't have the items, they don't have the composition to handle what RNG have for themselves. And RNG put themselves in a position where the bottom lane wave was so on their Nexus turret that they had to fight. And if you are in a leading position to put yourself in that kind of pressure, ridiculous.
Yeah, the win condition really was playing through Duke, having the Rage Blade on the Gnar, so very clearly going towards the split pushing build that we've seen. I believe Marn was one of the first Gnars to actually build the Rage Blade back in regular split. We've also seen it in the LCK promotion. But Invictus Gaming just lost their patience. And there were so many instances in this game where teams just weren't patient enough to wait for the correct setup, to wait for the correct play. And a lot of that is because you have so much talent on the roster. Now Zatai being traded in for Let Me, still a lot of talent there, that they don't have to play perfect League of Legends because even playing from a back foot, a lot of these players aren't punished for that. They're able to rise above the occasion.
Perhaps some of the gravity of the situation, the semifinals, 11 weeks worth of progress weighing on these players' shoulders as they make their way onto stage. Of course, RNG, you just saw bringing in Let Me in the top lane. Perhaps that could reset the mental attitude they have coming into this game too, because they were so close. Could it just be Let Me coming in and tipping the scales in their favor?
It would have to be. That's why you have to bring in someone fresh, someone that wasn't a part of that disaster to just reset that mentality.
But my issue is that I don't think Let Me is the stylistic adjustment that they need to find success here. Because Swain is supposed to be the pick for Zatai. He's supposed to be your bruiser, 1v1, 1-3-1 Axis top laner, and that was the win condition for IG. It's not how they won the game, but it's how they should have won the game with Duke. So by bringing in Let Me, it just means that they want to go harder and faster into the 5v5, and they're already being, outmaneuvered.
Yeah. And ultimately, I just want to touch on this because I feel like what they want to be changing from Game 1 to Game 2, I do not think it should be a roster change. I don't even think it should be a change in pick and ban necessarily, even though I criticized the fact that they were going to be losing every lane. They at least had a strategy that they didn't play to. So execution was my major point of how RNG played that one out very early on. They could have run the same thing going into Game 2.
Well, speaking of strategy, RNG have selected blue side coming into this Game 2, so they will be sticking towards that side of the map. We talked heavily about that pick and ban and post-game for that Game 1. Yeah. Can they get away with that same style? Can they get away with the same team fight into a 1-3-1 against IG?
If they change up their ban. So previously they banned Rakan, Olaf, Orianna. I like the Rakan ban because if they want to prioritize Kai'Sa, saying she gets through draft phase, then you want to make sure that she survives the lane phase. So you ban the Rakan so the Xayah Rakan is weaker. But I think you change out the Orianna ban because normally it means that they want to have access to Ryze. They can't do that because Rookie has an amazing Orianna. But I think you throw the two bans. Either take away the Xayah so the Rakan's not as prominent, but get rid of Tahm Kench, especially if you want to play this style.
Yeah, and honestly, if they want to move away from the scaling aspect of it, because I thought the Game 1 draft allowed them to protect the early game while at the same time scaling. If they want to change that entirely, then I would say prioritize Varus as a pick, because the Varus getting locked in as well as the Tahm Kench that you don't like is just a very powerful lane that you really can't deal with unless if you have a mage support that RNG tends to run a few times. So I would say either pick the Varus pick early on, really just literally first pick if they have blue side, or try and run back that first composition to see if you get it.
So we've been looking at this from RNG's perspective. Do you think Uzi gets Kai'Sa again? Does Invictus Gaming change their style up and go back to the win lane, win game?
I mean, it was a clear read from IG, and I do agree with the read that Kai'Sa is not strong in the lane phase. She excels when you have all all-in engaged support, so look at the Leonas, the Alistars, but if you're not set up for that, she's not going to find a lot of trade potential there. So by grabbing the Varus and then having the Tahm Kench, they basically meant that they were going to auto-win, and I think that's what a lot of teams are going to continue to do. Kai'Sa starts to come back, but IG felt good. They won game number 1. I'd like to see them let it go through, but it probably won't.
Yeah, I think they will let it go through because they understood and adapted within the game. About 30 minutes in, they just started to play a little bit more back. They almost ended it on bot lane push. They could have just done that if they would say, okay, they're going to try and cut us in top and bottom lane whenever we try to push in. Going into game 2, they're going to be aware of that.
Well, we're about to find out what that's going to be. It's time for our casters to get us into pick ban for game 2 of Royal Never Give Up versus Invictus Gaming.
Thank you, Don. We're already in picks and bans for game number 2. RNG taking on Invictus Gaming. So far, Clement, not too much has changed. RNG still on blue side. They're still going to take away Rakan, Orianna, as well as Olaf. This time, IG, they're up against Let Me, the top lane from RNG. Swain, Karma, as well as Thresh. They're 3 bans.
Again, they're not changing their bans, even though it's Let Me. Now, Let Me does not play the Swain into the top lane, but they're still respecting the potential for a potential pick right there. I actually agree 100% with Raz. I think the problem with a lot of RNG drafts is that they do not prioritize Uzi's picks. Uzi is someone that likes to win lane, and he's always willing to take a pick later than the opponent. But this is a Guinsoo meta, man. If you just slot in Varus, that champion has a massive win rate and no bad matchups.
No. Varus does not have any bad matchups at all at the moment in the bottom lane. On top of that, we've seen what JackeyLove can do when Balan picks up Tahm Kench. We already said it's the second most played support for Balan. The only other champion he plays more is Braum by 3 or 4 played games. He's going to go towards Tahm Kench once again, and this is a champion that I am actually confused as to why it's being let go for both IG and RNG, because both these teams, this is the second most banned champion against them.
Well, I have a very good reason in mind, and that's because Tahm Kench is not a champion that you push the lane with. So I think RNG, I'm actually willing to let the Kench go, just because if I take a mage support, which is something that Ming has done a lot of times, then you can actually equalize the lane. It doesn't even matter which AD carry you pick at that point.
It just helps them out so much, though. Yes, they can't push the lane anymore, Clement, but Tahm Kench can protect a hyper carry like JackeyLove. Tahm Kench can protect a hyper carry like Uzi. On top of that, it provides that global map pressure. These two teams, very low in team fights when it comes to their matches. They like to split push, acquire advantages through laning phase, and Tahm Kench enables all that. IG get it again for a second match, and the draft phase hasn't changed so far for RNG. Trundle, Kai'Sa, Vladimir, that's their first 3 picks.
Oh, and here we go, the classical matchup. Here's the Kog'Maw coming out from JackeyLove. This is something that they've been trying to play in the last few weeks, trying to go later into the game.
And not going towards the Varus, we already said. No bad matchup for Varus, he can pick it up if he wants to. Ultimate is available to lock down multiple members. JackeyLove had a good game of the champion, immediately swapping over towards Kog'Maw and heading into game 2.
Now, they do need a tank line this time around with the Kog'Maw. I don't think they're going to go with another champion like the Gnar in the last 2 picks right here. They do need kind of a pushing composition where they can go toe-to-toe with RNG. For Vladimir right here, this is very interesting because Let Me also plays Vlad in the top lane. RNG always holding on to their cards, always looking for a potential flex pick.
But we saw how well Xiaohu was able to work together with MLXG to find those deep flanks when he played the Vladimir, and it was MLXG on the Trundle pick. Not only that, but we saw MLXG's very creative jungle path to get a gank in the bottom lane. Throughout the playoffs, every game 1, there's been something creative that's come out from MLXG, and he still continues to innovate moving towards deeper and deeper into this series. I have to see what he can do heading into the second match against RNG, but RNG take away not only Ryze, but Taliyah as well. These are 2 champions that IG like to work around when they don't give Orianna to rookie. 2 champions that, again, have a lot of global map pressure.
Yeah, they aren't looking for that bot lane 4v2 anymore. I don't really think you can push the tempo bot lane safely with a Kog'Maw. So I'm not sure about this Taliyah ban, actually. I think it's pretty clear for RNG that IG have actually switched kind of the side focus. Last game, they were solely on the bot side, but I don't really think you do that once more with the Kog'Maw. The Taliyah is kind of a, for me, it's actually kind of a missed opportunity to ban something else.
But Invictus Gaming recognized that in the last match, even though it's the tie playing, On was a big problem for them. Yes, Duke was able to stand his ground, picked up more than 100 CS ahead of his opponent, was 4,000 to 5,000 gold up as well in the last few stages of the game. But with that point and click ultimate that allows such great initiation for RNG, which they abused in game 1. They're not going to give it over towards Let Me in the top side of it anymore. This time, it could either be him picking up Vladimir or Sion, depending on which lane assignments RNG want for these two champions.
Yeah, they're definitely still holding on that fact. And here, finally, the Morgana comes through. This is why you let the Tahm Kench in, because if you can play a mage support, you can actually equalize that lane fairly easily. This has been a massive pick recently in the LCS. With that Black Shield onto the Kai'Sa, and this is what Prey did against Afrika, you're able to get into that backline. It's going to be very hard to stop you.
Definitely is. We already see what Uzi can do, not only during the laning phase, but in the late game with his Kai'Sa pick. He's almost able to single-handedly clean up a lot of team fights. And the final pick, Rookie! Anivia in the mid lane.
Oh, this is an old school counter. This brings me back to CLG EU versus Moscow 5 era. You can block the Vladimir from initiating onto your backline with just simply the Crystallize. So going back very, very far. Now, this has been a low-key, overpowered champion for quite a while. Sitting very high on the Challenger rank, has a very good win rate.
And now we're going to see what Rookie can do with the champion. It's going to be another pick that gets picked up, another unique pick in the LPL. Has not been played in playoffs, has not been played during Spring Split in the LPL.
Now imagine this scenario. Kai'Sa flies in, you instantly tag her with the R and send an E her way. I don't think she can keep on going into the team fight if that happens.
No, it's difficult. It's a pick that we have seen internationally across a lot of international tournaments, especially during playoffs. It was picked up by quite a few mid laners, but it's going to be the first time we see it in the LPL. And it's Rookie, Spring Split MVP, who brings out the champion for game number 2. IG already up after a back and forth base race of a match for game 1.
It's a really messy team fight right there at the end. I think there was a lot of mistakes from both sides, but we can see the change of style here from IG. They're not going to go full bot lane list this time. Instead, they can hold on and play for their 4-1 in the late game and still go 5v5.
And there are a lot of questions being thrown Duke's way. Is he just a tank player? He's already shown no. He can pick up Nah. That's perfectly fine in the top lane with that matchup. He's already been able to show he can shut down the likes of Zatai. When he gets a favorable matchup, puts them down 140 CS towards the end of the match. And he's been a good staple pick for IG in this series so far. He has to continue that against RNG.
The most important match here is going to be in the bot lane with Ming's first try onto the Morgana. Can he actually push this wave in and give Kai'Sa that lead she needs to close out the end of the game?
And as always, high spirits for Rookie in the mid lane. You'd expect nothing less from him, but it's all seriousness from RNG at the moment. Last year, IG were the contenders. This time, it's RNG that have to go through these Titans to try and get into the finals. We're getting onto the Rift. Game number 2.
Just looking at the lane assignments, we do have a small graphical error that happened. Xiaohu is in fact taking Sion into the mid lane.
Yeah, Sion's going to be in the mid lane. Letme's playing Vladimir on the top side of the map. Swap did come out from RNG. He's picked up the Dark Seal to go into this Anivia matchup. No wards were being placed down by IG heading into RNG side of the jungle, instead placing down a couple to protect their own camps. We should see once again Kai'Sa as well as Morgana get early access into the lane, and the same story should be said for JackeyLove as well as Baolan. On this Kog'Maw as well as Tahm Kench pick up in the bottom lane. This time though, they don't have as decisive of a laning phase advantage. Yes, Kog'Maw does have a decent laning phase against Kai'Sa, but not as strong as Varus, who, as we said earlier, doesn't have many bad matchups.
Yeah, this is a very different look from IG. They're not looking to punish that bot lane. Also, good read from IG's bot lane. They spotted out a cheesy level 1 from RNG and are able to avoid everything.
So they were. Nothing comes out from the level 1, but this time, Ning does start on the bottom side of the map. Gragas did not get a leash on the top side, did not start at red buff. So JackeyLove as well as Baolan come into the lane late. Uzi gets some good trades and is able to push the wave in his favor to start things off for RNG.
We do see the W start from Ming right here. The Morgana changes with that. You do get 5% CDE refund onto that W if you hit enemy champions, and that's for every single tick. So if you can get the back line with Kog'Maw at the same time, you can actually push this lane out very well. They let the Tahm Kench through for a reason.
And you already mentioned, comment, the fact that this is something that Tahm Kench doesn't give you, something that RNG needs to try and abuse. Try and make sure that that lane is constantly pushed in for RNG. MLXG is being able to spot out Ning, goes for a duel around Raptor Camp, smites it, picks it up for himself. Ning gets a buff taken away from him, is actually being chased away from this side of the jungle. MLG already has 2 buffs here. He could try and 3 buff Ning starting game 2.
And he's going to do it. There's a very weak mid lane in Anivia. And also, Gragas, his early game has always been very suspect. Against someone, a big duelist like the Trundle, you can push away his entire top side. And you can see, Gnar is typically an advantage laner in the top against Vladimir. That's not happening anymore because he knows the Trundle's around.
Yeah. Trundle is already on the top side of the map, is behind him in this turret. Duke is level 2, level 3 being picked up by Let Me. Can use the Sanguine Pool to get away from this turret shot. Does so. MLG's not tanking at the moment. Duke's going to try and bounce away. Gets back to safety. MLG's going to take down, flashes forward. One more club gets it. First blood picked up by MLXG.
Beautiful range there from MLXG. He knew that the flash would take him outside of turret range, so he was 1 tower shot away from death, still able to take up that first blood.
And every part of the map is in control for RNG just 3 minutes into the game. Top lane's being pushed in. MLXG is controlling every single jungle camp. Sion pushing in against rookies and Nivea. Jackalov and Baolan stuck underneath their turret as well. This is something that we don't see ever against Invictus game.
This is the MLXG effect. Sometimes he goes wild and crazy and it takes over your entire jungle. You can see that Gragas, he was so afraid of the pushing lanes that he didn't take anything away from MLXG's jungle. Completely one-sided trade.
And now we really have to see how do IG find their way back into the laning phase, because it's already a 1,000 gold lead for RNG just from the laning phase alone. Bottom lane, Uzi's getting good damage against Baolan as well as Jackie Love, making it difficult for them to CS and keep this wave pushed in their favor. And every other lane, as we mentioned, is pushing in. They've got the ward coverage to stop these ganks from Ning. Ning himself is being shut down by LXG. IG have to find some part of this map and attack it.
I was actually very surprised that IG went away from something so successful like the Varus and went for a super late game composition. Now, IG have been known to kind of test their comps out, but this is new for them. They've never played the Anivia. Actually, nobody has played the Anivia in the LPL. And for this composition, I actually think a lot of the carry pressure then goes onto Duke in the top lane. He needs to set up a 4-1 composition where IG can consistently wave clear with Anivia and hold mid.
It almost feels like MLXG understands that. That's why he put so much pressure on the top side of the map. He's able to take down Duke and get first blood. Ning is struggling though. He's level 3. MLXG's level 5. He is on par with the solo lanes.
There's
in this
nothing
game.
for Ning to do right now. Fortunately, his Raptor camp does come up in time, but look at that bottom side jungle. How terrified Jackie Love has to play in this scenario.
Yeah, almost looking for a dive there. Blast Cone takes Trundle back out of the jungle. He's now moving towards the Elemental Dragon. Just a Cloud Dragon, but RNG will be able to take that objective. Ning is nowhere close to trying to contest that at the moment. And teleports we're starting to see being used in the lanes itself. Duke teleports towards top side of the map. Let Me picks up Ignite at level 1. Doesn't have teleport for himself just yet, but with the recall he got after the kill, was able to walk back into this space. MLG gets some help from Uzi as well. Both mid laners using their teleports too.
Good warding coming out here from the top lane of Let Me. Spots Ning out. Now, Ning has really wasted so much time around. Usually when another jungle takes the dragon, you can get 2 camps ahead of him. That's actually why a lot of junglers don't take early dragons. But you could see MLXG, he was not punished for anything. He actually just took the dragon, and Ning did not do anything.
And as much as Ning's falling behind, this is the part of the map that you said he has to attack. Yeah. Top lane, Let Me needs to be put down. Has that flash available, but Ning jumps in! What the heck? Let Me had Sanguine Pool, he had flash. Ning says you're not allowed to.
Yeah, that was actually a misplay on Ning's part right there. I felt like he did have a chance to flash. He wanted to hold onto it, and Ning just read him. That was kind of a rock, paper, scissors, shoe situation, and he instantly went in.
You said it yourself, Clement. He's picked this up with Sejuani being open twice now. This is a playmaking champion, and he is making plays. Yeah. Ning was able to get that clutch save with the backdoor against RNG in game 1. When they were pushing in, he wrapped behind the minions, made sure it was difficult for RNG to push in, gave the turret fortification without the minions being pushed in. Now as well, topside map, ganking of Vladimir. With summoner spells available, that is a difficult task. Successfully does so. Gets himself back into the game.
And we do have a 4v4 here. They're trying to play for Anivia's blue buff. Anivia, a champion that's really reliant on this blue. If that take that away, the mid rotation is going to come fairly easy.
That's normally how you shut her down. RNG being able to successfully blow Rookie's flash. They're still trying to fight over this blue buff. MLXG is here. Sion's looking for the flanks. Xiaohu is level 7.
Oh, and they take it away.
It is taken away by MLXG. Very good pincer coming out from RNG. Still, despite not seeing Anivia being played in the LPL or the entire split, they know exactly how to play around it.
Yeah, and here is a very interesting opportunity coming out from Sion. He can now push the wave in completely, and he can use that high wave we talk about behind the red buff to go straight towards the top lane and shut Duke down once more.
He's doing well in the mid lane as well. 62 CS to 48. Checking back in the bottom lane though, Jackie Love is 10 CS behind Uzi. And the harassment that's coming out from both Ming and Uzi is relentless. Jackie Love and Balon have no breathing room whatsoever.
Yep, they probably did not expect Ming to go for the Morgana, but this is someone has a reputation for playing those mage-type supports when it counts. We remember the Soraka at Worlds. We remember the Janna sometimes that he played. And now it's going back to something that's been proven in the LCS in the Morgana.
It's working out well from RNG in the bottom side of the map, but IG is still fighting around this red buff. You can see the Keystone runes that have been picked up by Rookie. And he has to try and rotate here, but he's going back to base. Instead, it's going to be a brawl between MXG, Xiaohu, Ning, and Duke. Duke is still in mini-mar form, and they take down Ning to kick things off. Nowhere to be seen as the mid laner, but Uzi going to jump back in. Jackie Love was trying to chase for the kill. Uzi in trouble. Jackie Love takes him down. Kingslayer in game 2. He's able to get out as well. Balan saves the day, secures the kill in the bottom lane.
We didn't see the start of the fight, but somehow Uzi went behind very, very low in terms of his HP. Why are you still here, Duke?
Taking a lot of damage, flash forward from MLXG. Duke's going to bounce away. Red buff is ticking. Is it going to be enough? Not quite. Duke lives with a sliver of health.
And that's just RNG. Sometimes the mistakes they make is because they try to play two sides of the map at the same time. They're actually one of the teams that I feel never get a clean fight going on. Jackie Love suddenly hits 6. Uzi places his Dark Shield early. They try to go all in for the Tom Kench, who still has a flash right there.
Jackie Love not afraid to stand and deliver against Uzi. Uzi jumps back in, decides to go for the fight. And Jackie Love picks it up nice and clean on the back half of this. Balan as well. Hero saves Jackie Love after he picks up the kill.
Yeah, that was a bit unfortunate from Ming. Actually, his Black Shield and his Dark Binding were pretty much useless in terms of that skirmish. So I just think it was kind of a mistimed fight, and they went for the wrong targets. If they got something out of the Kog'Maw, that would have been great, but they tried to all-in a Tom Kench, which is a bit weird in that scenario.
Uzi said it himself, Clement, if you want to take the crown, you've got to go through him. He looks to be the best AD carry in the world, and Jackie Love is standing up and saying, sure. Not only are IG up 1-0 in this best of 5 series, Jackie Love's looking strong in the bottom lane on this Kog'Maw pick. Picked up a kill in a 2-on-2 situation. Now Ning is paying some attention into the bottom lane as well. He's rotated down here. He's in Fog of War, looking to see if RNG continue to be aggressive, but nothing has happened so far.
Yep, he definitely sees that Uzi is without his summoner, so if he gets a lucky pick right there, he could potentially save this lane back again. If we look at IG's composition, I think there's a big problem here that they're mainly magic dealers. Like, there isn't a lot of AD coming out from their comp. They're going to have to get it from Duke somehow.
I mean, we saw what happened in the last match. Duke went towards a very heavy damage build. Blade of the Ruin King, Black Cleaver, as well as Gwyn's, who's picked up on his Gnar. Jackie Love could do exactly what he did in game 1 as well, which is he can go towards the Rage Blade and go towards a crit Kog'Maw build, similar to what we've seen from SMLZ in the past. And actually has made his way into the bottom lane though, and Sion is rotating down.
No flash on Jackie.
No flash for Jackie. Balov's going to try and save him, but he's already been locked down by Morgana. Still gets stunned by the tether, and it's going to be a clean 2 kills picked up by RNG in the bottom lane.
And they just made that look easy. The follow-up was so fast from MLXG. Once that ward was cleared from Ming, he immediately moves in. And that's been a problem with Jackie Love and Baolan. They're never a team that knows when to pull back. No. Those two, man, they always want to stay in fight. And they actually die the most out of any bot lane pre-10 minutes.
Because they've always been allowed to be aggressive. This is a team where you look at Invictus Gaming, top side is going to be pushed in. Rookie's going to be pushing in and trying to get ganks off with the help of Ning. That means that bottom lane is rarely ever focused, rarely ever touched. Jackie Love and Balan can be as aggressive as they want. This time around, RNG capitalizing on that. And MLXG, he's had a phenomenal series so far. Yeah. Played well in game 1. He's playing incredibly well in game 2.
And here we see some stats from Xiaohu really stepping it up in terms of the playoffs. What I really think that has propelled his performance is the fact that they use flex picks so well. In the Snake series, in the W series, even though he picked first, he was always able to then flex into the matchup that he wanted. This is the case again here, where he's going into the Sion versus Anivia.
And Rookie's doing fine in that matchup, but it is Xiaohu with the 15 CSC. We've seen he can play the carries as well. Picked up Vladimir in the last match, found some crucial flanks to keep RNG in the game. this time he's on a tank, more of the facilitator, role player, was crucial in their skirmish around blue buff, which seems like RNG are setting up for once more. Because they were able to deny Rookie that blue buff, and they're still playing around that condition, and making sure that Nivea can't get it.
The positioning with Kaisa is so smart as well. She can instantly come into these fights with the plasma coming out from MLXG. So she can actually push the bot lane wave while they put up a 3v4 front right in front of blue.
Fighting on multiple fronts, once again, RNG's draft phase is solid. On top of that, they've been playing towards their win conditions quite nicely in the older game. It was all about IG, can they execute on their win conditions? It was very shaky. They end up picking up the game in game 1. But RNG have been solid whenever they try to play their playstyle.
Yep, I just want to say that IG, you might have outsmarted our analysts who said that they should ban Tom Kench from you, but RNG, you didn't outsmart me. I knew you were going to go for a mage support.
And they went toward the Morgana. As you mentioned, it's been crucial for RNG. We'll have to see what the impact is later on in the matches. We can take stock of the game at the moment. 2 Cloud Dragons have already been picked up for RNG. They have a 3,000 gold lead over Invictus Gaming, and every single lane, Clement, is being pushed in, and IG are stuck underneath their turrets.
Yeah, and a lot of these matchups should not be going the way they are. The top lane for Gnar should be a lane win for Duke, but that's not happening because he was focused so heavily.
And they're going to focus him once again. Teleport onto a minion coming out from Sion. Xiaohu can try and charge in. Lightning's looking for the kill as well. He's about to go Mega. Good stun comes out from Rookie, locking him down. Duke misses the Mega Gnar. Xiaohu's still looking for a fight. MLXG with the flank, and Ming's going to try and body bubble the wall, but doesn't connect with the body bump itself. Smite is there. Rookie gets the kill into Let Me. First pick up for IG. Now trying to hunt down Xiaohu as well as MLXG. Slowly chasing him down. Slowly getting chip damage onto these 2 beefy tanks. The bottom lane is nowhere to be seen. Flash away coming from RNG. They get away with their lives, but they lose their top lane in the process.
Great play from Rookie right there. Xiaohu thought because he had the TP advantage, he could make that play work, but Rookie simply walked to that lane and was able to deny that play coming out. And with that 1 kill going over to Rookie, I think he's going to have some more breathing room in terms of pushing the bot.
Now they're going to try and cut off MLXG as well. Locked down by the pillar, he's forced to flash over.
That was very ambitious from MLXG.
Very,
I have to say, yeah, like, there's no reason to stay there.
Look, he has one direction, and it's forward, Clement. That's the only way that MLXG knows how to go.
Another teleport coming in.
Seem to be able to, on the exact same mindset as well. Ning, he's being caught here,
flash.
locked down, no flash available. Gragas is going to fall. Let Me rejoins the fight and gets revenge against IG.
And they're going to take a red buff again away. I don't understand how Duke is going to play this lane now. He just teleported back to lane, trying to support his teammates, but he's in a 2v1 scenario.
Oh, he knows that MLXG is right here, but he's still opting for the fight. Bounces over the pillar, gets a good trade against Let Me, but his turret is incredibly low. His turret is so low. Xiaohu is trying to push in between the 2 mid lane turrets. Ming's going to rotate in here as well. That turret is fairly low. Uzi is nowhere to be seen, and a teleport is being forced into the mid lane by Bowler to try and stop this from going down. At the same time, RNG able to pick up their first turret of the game.
Great plays coming out from IG. They were very reliant on that blue buff, but I'm sorry, RNG. They're really reliant on that blue buff, but they still went for Anivia anyway and gave up a weak bottom lane. So that's the problem right there. If you have someone that's really reliant on blue, but your bot lane is constantly being pushed in, that's probably not the best strategy to run. And they are punishing so hard because of that Morgana.
They certainly are. Rookie out of mana has a tier of the goddess being stacked up, as well as his Rod of Aegis. During this time, as we mentioned, RNG focusing on these outer turrets. Every single lane was pushed in. They've taken every single elemental dragon, and it's been early elemental dragons have come out. Now they've got a Rift Herald as well.
And here's the big play. If you can take an early mid tower, the 4-1 composition no longer works for IG. They're just going to have to look for the high ground, basically, to make their defense. I think IG, if the Herald is put down, they need to fight. It doesn't matter how far behind they are. They need to try to look for a miracle.
Do they have the similar composition that we saw from RNG? Because even though RNG were dominant in Game 1's laning phase, RNG had that initiation, had that team fighting composition, and Uzi was ahead. If you look towards IG, if their playstyle is to go towards split pushing, team fighting might not be their forte.
It certainly will not be, because their champion are still very far behind the power curve right now. If you look at Jackie Love, he's still multiple items away. I think that's 1,000 gold behind. He has never been able to leave his lane. And pretty much RNG are just sitting on that transition, to go towards mid.
So how do they win the team fight then? If IG are going to look for that fight, if they have to fight when Herald gets put down, how do they win it if they don't have that superior composition? What do they have to do to upset RNG in the fight?
They have some really good combos right here. They actually have the Tom Kench that can deny a lot of tower diving plays, and they also have the Gnar into crystallized combo. So they can set up an entire 5-man like Wombo in whenever they want to, wherever they want to. However, they do need to keep their pieces there in time. That's going to be the big question. If I'm RNG, I just want to push in one of these lanes and go mid.
Well, they're trying to push in the bottom lane. MLXG is down here. He's the one holding onto Rift Herald, uses it straight into the bottom lane. Everyone from IG is now rotating down here. This will get a charge off and should be able to take down this turret, actually. Balon gets caught out, takes some damage. Xiaohu does have the flank, not spotted out just yet. Was in fog of war. Classing onto Jackulov. He gets charged. Pillar cuts him off. There's no way for the carry to go. And Uzi takes him down immediately into the backlines. Gets the support as well. Gets the turret. RNG break bottom lane.
That was a weird series of events because IG definitely knew that the bottom lane was coming. They saw Trundle. Everyone was rotating there. But Jackie Love with Flash, Ballan, still decided to stay in place. That's very typical of Jackie Love, but still, it would not be something I would recommend.
And looking good for RNG heading into game number 2. We'll take a look at that fight again. IG were just stuck underneath this turret.
Jackie Love should actually just back out now. He's trying to clear the wave away, but there's a Trundle sitting right in front of you. You all know this is going to happen. Your team is coming in. Why still stay underneath the tower? Actually, Tom Kench could have provided you... Oh, but Xiao just died.
He's dead.
Okay.
Gank came in the mid lane. Jake was able to pick up that kill. But you're right.
Tom Kench could have provided a blocking member against the Scion, and he could have walked away, but he just decided to stay there.
Clutch play coming out from MLXG once again. He's had a fantastic game 1, looking to continue that momentum into game 2 and perhaps the entire series. Nowhere to see has been cast so far, but RNG seem to be happy with MLXG back on the roster. Again, locking down Jackie Love, punishing the greedy play in the bottom lane as he tried to clear out those minions. Uzi is now far ahead. He's over 20 CS up ahead of Jackie Love. He's got his Rage Blade and Hurricane complete. Jackie Love still looking for that second item.
Yep, still has the double item as well, and he can join any of these bottom side fights in an instant. That plasma coming out from the Trundle pillar is why you pick these two in unison.
We've already seen what he can do at the champion. Game 1 had a few fantastic fights. Game 2 already, he's been able to dash back and forth between the backline and front line. Another Elemental Dragon is going to fall for RNG. That's their third. We already said they picked up a very early Elemental Dragon. 2 more could spawn here from them if they take it on cooldown.
Oh yeah, and that's going to be a very scary Elder Drake for them. That's going to give them late game map control a lot more important.
But they're looking for a fight right away. Pillar's going to cut them off, but only gets a stun onto Rookie. Turret is going to fall. Minion dematerializer from Balon will take away the Banner of Command minion, but RNG have already gotten what they came for. They take down every single outer turret in the match.
Great timing here from RNG. Ning's ultimate was not up. He could not make any flashy plays there, so they simply walk in with Trundle on the inner track.
And again, they move from buff to buff. Now on red buff, but it's going to be Ning with the initiation, looking to knock back MLXG, but he doesn't get it. Misses the ultimate. Crucial cooldown, and the choo-choo trains in the backlines. Everyone's low. Uzi's diving in. Everyone from IG is just going to get taken down. Triple kill being picked up by Uzi, chasing down the 4th member. Duke's the only one left alive. Penta kill to Uzi.
That's the 5th professional, actually the 6th professional pentakill we've seen from Uzi so far. A lot of them happened on Vayne, a lot of them on other champions, but that's going to be the first one for Kai'Sa right there.
They set up the fight. IG look for the initiation there, but Ning misses the ultimate, and the switch gets flicked by RNG. They go for the fight. They deny another turret. They move towards Baron, and this game is looking incredibly one-sided in game 2.
IG put themselves into a chokehold position. There's so much AoE coming out from RNG. Uzi already has his Runan's Hurricane, and also Let Me with the Vladimir damage popping off on the entire front line was amazing. I really don't think they should have tried for this fight against MLXG here, and their backline, Ballan, not able to use Devour at all to save any teammates.
IG trying to fight on 2 fronts as well. The ultimate miss from Ning, but clutch coming out from RNG support. Ming gets the black shield onto Uzi right as the stun, right as the cutoff came out from Anivia. And allowed him to push.
No translation. That's a whoa coming out from Uzi.
8-1-1. Already completed his Affinity Edge as well on Kai'Sa. 3 items. And he's going to be further supported by an Ardent Sensor that's picked up by Morgana. A Zeke's being picked up by Trundle.
He's doing insane damage right now. Now, the simple math on the Zeke's convergence is that it amplifies your AD carry by 25% of damage dealt. So that's just a massive boost at this point. Look at his 3 items. He's 1 full Infinity Edge ahead of Jakilov.
That's not even counting in the supportive builds, as we mentioned. And the black shield that we saw was clutch from Ming in that last fight, protecting him every single time he tries to dive into the back line. Some of the spells are up. Baron buff's being picked up. Everyone from RNG has shopped as well, and they're 12,000 gold ahead.
If they don't lose an inhibitor here, it's a win for Invictus Gaming. They're so far behind, and it's really hard to see how they're going to climb back. If you look at their damage profile, they're still completely magic damage. They don't even have any AD to really take down, to diversify their threats.
And you see, they can try and cut off MLXG, but they throw everything at him, and he's only at half health. Just the ultimate gets some back for himself, and RNG is still splitting the map apart. 3 members is all it takes to destroy top lane in a turret. Xiaohu, he's split pushing in the bottom lane. Let me split pushing in the mid lane, and slowly RNG can take whatever part of the map they want.
They've already peeled down the ring of outer turrets. There's only 1 left in that bottom lane, and they're going for their patented 1-3-1 style. Now, this does give IG a chance to get back at them, but they're going to have to use Gragas's, Ning's Gragas and Baolan's Tahm Kench.
Oh, but they've already caught out Ning's Gragas.
Oh,
He
he's
takes so much.
going in.
Uzi back in! 2 kills, make it 3. Turret's gonna fall next. RNG want this game to stop right here.
That was insane damage coming out right there. The 3 members with the AoE, they could not stand for even 3 seconds.
Now Duke's in trouble. Uzi gets the 4th. Now
He gets
chasing
it
down
with Void
Rookie as
Seeker?
well, jumping in. It's going to be a delayed Penta if they dive the turret, but it doesn't matter. What matters to RNG is game 2, they were dominant. IG have not looked this weak in a long while, and IG have given it to them. Now chasing towards the Nexus.
IG tried to go with a different style right here. They took their foot off the pedal with the Kog'Maw pick, but that bot lane has freed Uzi to do unimaginable things.
It was back and forth in game 1, but RNG showed they can be broken but not tilted, because game 2 was an absolute shellacking. They're onto the Nexus. 4 members of IG are going to try and stop this. Ning body bots forward into the air, because Uzi gets another one for himself. 13 kills. This guy is massive. RNG for game 2.
17 and 4 to RNG. A very quick and clean game coming out for them. This was the best game that we've seen MLXG on. He punished the Gragas his weak early on, and he also continually denied the blue buff from Anivia. They controlled the bot side. They didn't let Duke get into a 4-1, and they just ran over IG.
We already said this is a pick we haven't seen in the LPL. Yes, it's been played internationally. It was played in a couple of playoffs as well. But RNG showed they know exactly how to play against it. Nothing came out from Rookies and Anivia.
Someone needs to take away that Trundle pick from MLXG. This is the key to the matchup. This is the big pick that me and Raz said that IG had to take away. It's just giving too much over to RNG. It gives them early jungle advantages. It gives them combos galore with the Swain, with the Kai'Sa, with anything they want to pick into. So IG, man, you have to rethink your draft.
I would have to rethink that Tahm Kench as well. We already said, you know, it's a pick that both these teams want. Gives them that global map pressure, gives them the safety of protecting their hyper carries of Jakilov or Uzi. And it's also the 2nd most banned champion against RNG or IG. RNG didn't quite show it in game 1, but they show in game 2 they can play around it and actually punish the pick in the bottom lane quite nicely.
That was definitely the counter they were looking for, and just look at that gold graph. That's an elevator straight to hell for IG.
It wasn't looking good for IG in game number 2, because that was a shellacking. RNG was so far ahead. It was a 12,000 gold lead at 20 minutes, Clement. It doesn't get more decisive than that.
Oh, definitely not. I feel like IG, they need to go back onto what has made them successful. The Caitlyn, the Varus, the bot lane priority.
And remember that this could have very well been 2-0 at the moment for RNG, because game 1 was so close and back and forth between the 2 teams. For now, though, to break down that game a little bit further, let's send it back to the analyst desk.
Pentakill on Kai'Sa, and RNG win the game, and it's a snowball, and there's just, we already said this series is going to be good. That was game 2, ladies and gentlemen. We've got at least 2 more to go.
Yeah, it's pretty clear that Uzi was watching the EU LCS finals. He's like, Reckless got 2 pentas, I can beat that. He's got 1 on the board. So we've got
down,
plenty of games left to play.
Yeah, absolutely thrilling. Let's actually start back from the beginning then and go back to the draft, because this is something we talked a little bit at the post game for game 1. We talked about RNG changing styles coming into this game 2. But then they just doubled down. They brought Let Me into the top lane. They stuck with the Kai'Sa carry. They stuck with the Trundle.
But the change was in lane priority. The Scion was a big pickup for me just because the moment they realized where Anivia was going.
The flex pick.
Exactly. The Anivia was going to be going up against the Vladimir. Not going to happen when they send Vladimir top and Scion mid. So suddenly they have full control of mid lane, full control of top lane push, and it made it incredibly easier just for MLXG to push in the red side jungle.
I'm kind of looking at the other side for Invictus Gaming. I don't necessarily agree with the Kog'Maw pick here. I would have wished that they would have stayed true to the Varus and really just tried to smash Kai'Sa in lane.
Yep.
But kind of walking through some of the logic or the thought process behind Invictus Gaming, it does make sense. IG found themselves in game 1 at a pretty hard scenario where they were getting outscaled in their composition and they were having to rely on the 1-3-1. They ended up winning that game, but you go backstage, you're like, okay, we need some sort of scaling option to deal with this. Kai'Sa's not known for her lane phase. We can probably pick a Kog'Maw here who has kind of a decent lane phase at times and then can hyperscale and match some of that power. So I think it makes sense from IG's point of view, even though this isn't the typical, win lane, win game Invictus Gaming that we see in terms of changing up their style from the draft.
That clearly did not go as intended, though. I mean, from the get-go, Uzi and Ming in the bottom lane were constantly tossing out harass to try and get that Kog'Maw further behind. And judging by how quickly the game actually ended, that seemed to be the proper strategy for them.
Yeah, and honestly, even though initially I said pick up the Varus, go towards the bottom lane, or at least have every pressure your bottom side of the map, I think it's okay as long as the mid lane and top lane can at least have you pressured out or at least can cover you, right? So it's just not them having so much free pressure, and it's not the Trundle walking up looking for a dive along with the Scion pick. So there was just a quadruple force to the bottom lane.
Yeah.
It was a point where there is no way the Kog'Maw was going to be able to survive a bottom lane dive happen.
And I want to speak to the strength of blue side, because this is twice now that RNG have selected to go to the blue side, had the priority pick up the Trundle, and Trundle blue side is very different from Trundle red side. Your gank paths and your angles into that lane are vastly different. In fact, if it's a Trundle red side, you're almost never going to gank bottom, because without access to a blast cone, it's very difficult to do so. And it's obviously a very practice strategy, having the Morgana, having the Braum, using the pillar, and then setting up those ganks bottom. And so I don't think we're going to see the same Trundle priority if we swap to a red side from RNG, is my take on the situation. That said, Invictus Gaming should realize this and should plan around it.
It's possible. I think if you go into bottom lane dive with, like IG did that in the last game, it was a lot easier because you had the Talia to be able to go and traverse the terrain the bottom lane does have. You just have to go for a deeper invade, and it comes down to RNG having the faith within themselves to be able to get deeper wards, or deeper control wards specifically, so you can set up for bottom lane dives. But IG, just clearly from the drafting standpoint, put themselves in a really massive deficit. It was unfair to Ning in that situation, because if his mid lane's getting pushed in repeatedly, we always talk about Banner of Command Scion. Just no matter who he goes up against, primarily Azir. But you know what? If you're going to get the Anivia, it's going to be the same issue. It's like, what can you do if you're Gragas and you're just getting pushed in on the adjacent lane, top lane? You just have to sack those waves.
There were so many opportunities where we saw Ning try to get in and find openings, but he could not just open up the map enough for his team, it felt like. On the other side, though, MLXG, he was the one who was actually aggressing. We saw him roaming around the mid lane. He was controlling the top half of the map, and he even took that Rift Herald and set up for a dive bottom lane. So it seemed like MLXG was the one who set the pace in this game too.
It was more so his laners opening it up for him this time around, because Invictus Gaming didn't have hands down winning lanes across the map. So it meant that MLXG was actually able to play much more forward, contesting Scuttle Crabs, grabbing hold of that vision, and then using the information and setting up for dives like this. So while we did see MLXG kind of step up to the scenario presented to him, it wasn't MLXG who was creating this.
And the danger of the composition RNG have, specifically Kai'Sa, is the snowball factor of it, that you can just chase it through with your ultimate. So we saw Pentas, we did, it happened. And you can't really deny it, but it turned into a stomp just off of one small advantage, just off of one dive that came through, and just off of constant push of mid lanes.
Yeah, this is where we have to talk about that snowball. The fact that it feels like we should be dressed in white right now for the avalanche that rolled down from RNG after that first set of kills. I mean, we'll bring up the pentakill for you in just a moment, but it was just the perfect storm. He had the Guinsoo's, he had the Rage Blade, Xiao, who came in with the excellent flank to set up the Anivia, literally lobbing it into the air, and then Uzi just came and slammed it back down.
Because Kai'Sa is one of those champions very similar to Zoe that once she starts snowballing, she is incredibly punishing. And again, this time around, Invictus Gaming chose to go for more scaling options by not having access to the Varus, so they didn't have a necessary like mid-game composition. And theoretically, they did have enough wave clear that they could have stalled, but picking very bad fights. There's no reason that Invictus Gaming should have gotten caught out in that scenario. Good execution by RNG, but it was IG that set themselves up to fail there.
And the cherry on top of that, of course, is the Morgana that allows the Kai'Sa to just run rampant in these team fights. Doesn't have to worry about any CC that's going to be locking her down. Doesn't have to go towards the QSS that she went towards in game 1. She was able to be free, a lot more free in these team fights.
And before the series, we were talking quite a bit about momentum and morale coming into this. We saw Let Me come in, and that seems to have reset the morale for RNG in this game too. Well, they just took a decisive, smashing victory here, bringing us down to a best of 3. Moving ahead, is this sort of strategy sustainable for Invictus Gaming, or is them flexing, them flexing in game 2 and saying, all right, we've got a little bit of buffer room?
But you're assuming that it was Invictus Gaming then that changed the strategy, or excuse me, RNG that changed the strategy by bringing in Let Me, and I don't think that was the case. I think RNG basically changed up their top laners, ran the exact same thing back to back, but it was Invictus Gaming who changed. It worked in game number 1 and it didn't work in game number 2. So I think IG have no one to blame but themselves.
And the only thing that they realized is the fact that Vladimir can just be flex top lane. That was when Invictus Gaming say, oh wait a minute, that's not a Vladimir mid necessarily. So it has to be, you have to respect the flex.
Well, maybe someday we'll get the Anivia top lane to counter the flex Vladimir top lane. Still, we've got 3 more games left in this series. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. Game number 3 is going to be coming at you in just a few minutes.